The flashing lights painted the road in red and blue. I slowed, pulled to the shoulder, rolled the window down. The sheriff walked up, my wife's brother, my brother-in-law. His face carried that smug satisfaction only someone sure of his power can wear. "I'm impounding your car," he said flatly. "Your wife is leaving you." I turned my head, and there she was, in the passenger seat of his cruiser, eyes avoiding mine. The world tilted. But I didn't argue, didn't plead, didn't even flinch. I just nodded. And then I made one call. 10 minutes later, the hum of engines. Black SUVs gliding out of the dark, surrounding us. Doors opening in unison. Men in suits. Silent. Efficient. One stepped forward, his voice precise. "Sir, the governor apologizes for his stupid behavior." The sheriff's grin faltered. My wife's lips parted, confused. I leaned back in my seat, calm, silent. The storm had already begun. I drove home alone. The car released. The sheriff left standing on the side of the road, humiliated, his badge suddenly lighter on his chest. But humiliation wasn't enough. Not for me. Not after seeing her beside him, in his passenger seat, where she didn't belong. I replayed it in my head. Her face, her silence, her refusal to look at me. Not a mistake, not confusion, choice. And his words, "Your wife is leaving you." He said it like fact, as if the decision had already been made, as if my marriage had been discussed, dissected, signed away in whispers I was never part of. I sat in the dark living room until dawn. No anger on the surface, only silence. But inside, my chest burned. What drove her there? Was it him? His uniform? His authority? Or was it simply me, blinded by love, failing to notice the rot growing under my own roof? I thought of the late nights she said she was with friends, the way her phone was always face down on the table, the sudden chill in her touch. It was all there. I just hadn't wanted to see. Now I couldn't look away. I began to move quietly. Her phone records, subtle, indirect access. I wasn't reckless. I had patience. Each number traced, each message recovered. Patterns emerged, calls at odd hours, trips that aligned too neatly with his schedule, whole weekends explained by lies I had swallowed. I watched her more closely, the way she flinched when my eyes lingered too long, the half-second delay before she answered simple questions. I said nothing. I pretended nothing had changed. At night, I rehearsed the confrontation in my head, not loud, not violent, quiet, surgical. Every smile she gave me was another stitch holding together a mask I had already ripped away in my mind. And the sheriff, he thought his badge was armor, thought his uniform gave him untouchable power. But I had already seen the fear in his eyes when the SUVs surrounded him. He knew in that moment just how small he really was. I wanted them both to feel that again, but deeper, permanent. The proof arrived like clockwork, phone logs, photographs, a dossier built piece by piece until the picture was whole. Every lie accounted for, every betrayal documented. I waited until evening. She came home, humming as if life were ordinary. I sat at the table, the folder before me. "Sit," I said. She froze, then obeyed. I slid the folder across. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. The color drained from her face. Pages turned slower. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Finally, she whispered, "You knew?" I met her eyes for the first time in weeks. Calm, unshaken. Yes, that was all. And in that single word, she broke. The next day, I called him. He answered with that forced bravado I'd come to recognize. "You better watch yourself," I interrupted. "Your chief has the file. Your governor has the rest. By morning, you won't have a badge." Silence. Then stammering, fear creeping into his voice. I didn't hang up. I let him unravel in my ear. Every word was a collapse. At home, she tried to speak, tried to explain. I gave her nothing, just the same silence she had given me on that road, sitting in his passenger seat. Her tears fell, useless. The devastation wasn't in what I said. It was in what I refused to give: reaction, comfort, forgiveness. I stripped her of significance. That was enough. By week's end, he was suspended, his face in the papers, disgraced. She disappeared into silence, a shadow in the house we once shared. I moved through it like a ghost, untouched. There was no satisfaction, no joy, just clarity. I hadn't lost her. She was never mine. The betrayal hadn't begun on that roadside. It had begun long before, in whispered secrets and stolen glances. Now the truth stood exposed, and with truth came freedom. I no longer carried her weight. I had cut it loose. She thought she left me that night in his passenger seat. She never realized I was the one who left her first.